Good morning there. We're going to be looking at making this little top here, which is modelled nicely on my infinity here. Now, people have been asking me if I would make more than just hats. The reason I don't really do that is because of the time it takes to make the video. But this little top doesn't take too long. I've altered it a little bit for the YouTube version, but you can always sort of lengthen it, or as you can see at the moment, you can have it on the shoulder, you can have it off the shoulder. So it's quite a nice versatile little top. I'll just turn around so you can see the back, so I'll just move a hair out of the way. So, I'll do it that way around then. So as you can see, it just comes across the back, over the shoulders again. But as you say, if you want to pop those shoulders up, you can do and reposition them to whichever position you want. You've got one off and one on. I'll pop them both up. I quite like them in that sort of shape. But as I say, you can have them off the shoulder as well. I absolutely love her in green. I think she looks amazing. She's got a rather nice flowery, although it's not really the weather for it over here, but she's got her nice flowery shorts on and her green hat and top. Not quite the right green for the hat because it isn't the same yarn as the top, so perhaps I should have done them in the same one. So this is what we're going to be doing today. It does take a little bit longer than the hats. There's not many rows, but there's a lot of stitches, and that is where it will take a little bit of time. So I know people have said that that's okay. They're quite happy with a longer video, so we're going to go with it. You can stop and start as you want. I suppose that's the other thing. That's the beauty of YouTube. You can control how you watch it. So we're going to be starting this in a moment, and I will bring infinity down with me onto the table, but we'll be doing the top. I think I'll do another one in the green. I think it is quite a nice colour because I do want to pop a couple on my websites and my Etsy as well, because I've reopened an Etsy account now which does have the patterns on as well as the website, because I'm finding I'm getting different sorts of views. I'm getting pattern buyers really on the website, whereas on the Etsy in the past I did find people bought the physical objects more. So I'm playing with it at the moment. So they are both available, so I'll pop a link on for both, I think. Although basically you guys are going to be the pattern buyers anyway, so you probably just need the website to sort that out so you can download your patterns. So I will see you in a few minutes with Infinity here to have a go at this nice summery, because we will get some sun at some point, summer top there. So I'll see you in a moment. Hi there, we're back. Now, I've taken a wig and hat off because I think it's a little bit easier to see the garment while we're working there. She's going to be moved over to one side in a moment, but just very quickly, I'm going to be using a 4-ply yarn. This is an acrylic 4-ply yarn, just a standard cheap yarn. Well, not too cheap. Don't go too cheap, you will regret it. The yarns are not usually great, but this is sort of a bog standard run-of-the-mill 4-ply yarn. Please be careful because the 4-plies do vary, like the DKs do. Some are thicker, some are thinner, so you may need to adjust depending on what you're using. This is a 3mm crochet hook which we're going to be using, and I've got my scissors and I've got my needle, so I can move them over there because I don't need them. Let's move a hat and wig out the way of the picture as well. So we're going to get straight on, and the boring bit first. We have to do 60 chain. Now the 60 chain is to fit around her shoulder area. I'll talk about that when we've done the 60 chain. So I'm going to move it out of the way while we get on with the chain. So just undo that yarn a little bit. Slip knot to start with is important. It is a slip knot on the hook because then it moves. So let's get a bit of this wool out of here before it starts rolling around, which it's already starting to do. So I want you to keep the actual tension on this chain quite sort of not tight. You need to be able to get into it, but quite consistent. It does make a difference, which I will show. I've done a couple of examples when we get past this bit to show you. So make sure your tension is quite consistent here, but it doesn't want to be so tight that you can't get the next row in. So we're just pulling through for our chain. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, keep moving your finger up, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. You may want to just pause me actually at this point. We're a third of the way there now, but you might want to work it at your speed. So just pause me and just do your 60 chain and come back to me after the fact. So we got 20, didn't we? 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, oh, nearly lost it, 26, 27, 28,
29, 30, we're halfway, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 2/3 there. 1, I started at 1 again, that's 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59 and 60. We now need to check whether this 60 chain is the right size. So I'm just going to bring her in upside down there. Let me just take my hook out because the 60 needs to fit on this shoulder area. So I'm going to take it from the back and wrap it up, wrap it round. I'll have to go around the top because it's not going to hold in place, is it? And that's going to be okay. You do need that bit of stretch because I'm doing that a little bit lower on top. It doesn't want to stay in place. Stay in place. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold both ends like that and imagine how it sits over her shoulders, and it'll fit nicely. Now the reason this chain is probably the most important thing of the whole outfit, because the measurements I'm doing later and the decreases and the increases rely on this being 60 chain. If your chains happen to be a bit loose, I've tried 2 different ways here. Now this one here is the same as the one I've just done, and you can see it's got quite consistent. Yeah, it's quite a consistent chain. But then the first one I did quite loose, and the chain's okay. You can see the chain's quite nice, but look at the length difference. That finishes there and that finishes there, so that is quite a big difference where the outfits are concerned. Let me move that up a little, move you out of the way, missus. So, and also because it's looser, it's got more stretch, it doesn't hold quite the same. So but they are both 60 stitches. In fact, hold it at their end, they're both the same end. Stretch it out, well, not stretch it, but hold it out. Look at that difference there. That will make a massive, well, it's just not going to fit. The top will be way too big. So always check if your 60 chain fits around the doll first. If it fits comfortable, you can then continue on with the pattern. Otherwise the top is going to come out larger than you anticipated. I've always sort of expressed how important chain is, that I think the first thing a beginner should do is practice lots and lots of chain, because as soon as their chain becomes nice and consistent and neat, their work will be a lot better. So that's just an example of what to watch out for, because I don't want you getting halfway down the jumper and then going, oh, it's way too big. You must check the sizing around your doll's shoulders. So I think we're quite happy with that. So we'll move her a little bit out of the way. Our first row, which it is going to be a row the first time, is going to be a foundation row, and I absolutely detest these things because again they're very tedious and they're harder to get into because obviously you're going into chain, not into stitches, so it can be a little bit of a pain there. So we're going to do 1 chain that's counted as my turning chain, but it is not a stitch. We're then going to go into the next stitch down. First few are hard to get into, you have a bit of a fight, and we're going to do a double crochet. Yep, see my wool split there, that's better. So just into the next chain along, in, grab the yarn, pull it through, we have 2 on the hook, grab it and pull it through the 2 again. If you're not sure on the double crochet, I have got a newish video that I've put up which I think is better than my original one. If you want to check it out, that's all. So we're going to go into every single one of these chain with a double crochet. Again, everybody will be working at a slower or a quicker speed. Some of you will be halfway along this line already. Some of you may be thinking about maybe checking out that double crochet pattern. So we're all working at different levels. So I'm just going to go relatively steady. I'm going to try not to go too fast. And we're going to go in every single one of those 60 stitches. It does curl a bit here. Don't worry about it. Just sort of pull it down and straighten it out. It'll be okay. So off we go, 1 double crochet. As I say, the foundation's always horrible. I hate foundation rows or rounds depending on what I'm doing, and I always say, and then until I've got that out the way, I'm not crocheting. So I'm going to be a little bit quieter here, or not. And we're just going to do that one double crochet into every single stitch. So I'm going to go, we must be about a third of the way already. It's not actually as bad as I thought. Right, just straighten that out. That's better. So it's not in your way if you just straighten it out. The double crochet stitch is important here because it keeps it nice and tight across the shoulders. And you don't want it too tight, of course, because you do need to get it on your doll. And again, this row, if your chain is neat and consistent, it is easier. If your stitches do vary, or if you've done it too loose, or definitely I think too tight is the worst for doing the foundation row, because you just cannot get the hook into the stitch, and you end up with very sore fingers trying to do it. We'll say we're approximately halfway now. I haven't been counting because there's no need to count. It's just one in every single one. If you want to, that obviously, if that suits you better, you can count, but there's not really a need to. I haven't actually checked how long the video takes at all, because I did it in 2 parts because there was distractions. So I did part of it and then I came back to it later. So again, it's not a race. You can stop and start whenever you want. Let's see how that's going. That's going quite nicely. Yeah, again, just give it a little, I'm not stretching, I'm just giving it a little straighten out just to make it easier to work with, that's all. So we're over halfway, well over halfway now. Now you could have, if you really wanted to, join this chain and work this piece in the round. I find that very hard to keep your chain flat if you do that, especially if you're sort of quite new to it. Even now I prefer not to do that because I sort of think I've got it flat and I do it and then I get to the other end and I haven't, it's twisted. So I found this is the easiest way. It means there's a tiny stitch you've got to do at the end just to neaten it, but it's not a big problem. And it does make it much easier at this point. Oh, we're nearly there. That one was a bit of a tight one there. Couple more stitches. Last one. Right, so just tighten that up because that's where your slip knot was. And this is our first row. Now we do have to now bring this around into a round, but it's easier than doing it with a chain. So I've just turned my work ready. In fact, I'll do a chain ready. There's a chain. Then I've turned. And now I need to keep this flat because you can see this is the inside. That is the outside. Get that off my fingers a minute. So I'm just flattening it off until I know it is the right side all the way around. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Essentially you need to make sure it's not twisted. When you're happy with that, we're going to go into this very first stitch, and I think this is quite hard to see because you're tempted to go there. Can you see? I'll not bring it too close too fast because it blurs. You're tempted to go there, but it's not, it is here. But this stitch is a little bit off to one side, so that is why it's a little bit hard to get into. So I'm going to do it in 2 points. That's the first bit, because we need both sides, and that's the second bit. So you need 2 pieces, yeah? So it's got to be the 2 pieces of the chain you've got. I'm going to wrap my yarn back around my hand. Ready? I'm just going to pull that through and I'm going to do it into a slip stitch. So I've just joined it basically. So you can see there's a little gap here, but at the end when you've made it, this is where we can stitch this in. So don't overly worry about that. We're going to be working in half trebles from now, but they're half trebles without stopping and starting. They're going to be worked in an amigurumi style. So we did 1 chain, but if it's going to be a half treble, we need 2 chains. So another chain. Oh, I only did a slip stitch, didn't I? So we need 2 chains. We do need 2 chains. And that is counted as that first stitch where you did the slip stitch. We're now just going to do 1 half treble into every single one of these half trebles. So off we go. Remember, a half treble is very similar to our treble, though it's a yarn around into the stitch, pull it through all three, and off we go. I will try and keep it steady, but remember, you can slow me down as well if you require to. With the half treble, the other thing is, don't worry about definitely pulling through all three. You can do like 2 and a 1. There's nothing wrong with that. I quite often do that. Or as a stitch will be described, it would say pull through all three. That's not always that easy to do. So off we go now. So through all three, or 2 and 2 and 1 and 2, whichever way works for you. Nice and steady. The more you do these, again, the faster you will get. Oh, got a little itch there on my face. Undo the yarn a bit more, and I'm going to speed up a little bit. Otherwise you'll all be falling asleep watching me do this. So it's just one full round. This is round 1. I'm going to count it as, and it has 1 half treble into every single one of those first double crochet rounds. Rounds, it's a row, wasn't it? Round. Off we go. Oh, my wool's squeaking a little bit. That wool keeps rolling about, that's why I have to keep undoing my hand. I hope this is clear enough. I've tried to do it a little bit closer than I would normally do. So make sure we're picking up both sides of that stitch as well. We're almost round for our round 1. Got a little bit of a split there. If it does split your stitches, just stop, take it out and redo it. It's worth it just for that second or 2 of altering the stitch. I really should have put that in a little bucket on the floor. I've got plenty of little boxes, but I end up filling them up with wool rather than using them for what I intended. There we go, almost round. Make sure I'm staying in the centre there for you. I think you could do with some music playing in the background or something for this, couldn't you? I'm not sure how I would do that. Something perhaps I'll have to learn, because I don't know sort of whether you can do it with speech or not. But on the quiet bits we could do with a little bit of sound. Pop some headphones on while you watch me, and you can listen to your music. Right, couple more stitches. Hard to tell where these last ones are. Can you see? Because of where it joins, it's a bit weird. But I'm not going to do a slip stitch and then 2 chain. I'm just going to jump straight to the top of those 2 chain with a half treble. Might feel a bit weird, but it does save having some lines where you're going to be stopping and starting. Make sure it's nice and tight, this stitch. This stitch matters. There we go, it will tighten up lovely. So now again, 1 half treble. We're in round 2 now, and so round 2 is also going to have 1 half treble in every half treble. Oh, nearly wrapped it double then. We don't want a double treble, do we? So it's just a half treble all the way around. As soon as we get past the shoulder bit and we sort of work out where the sleeve hole goes and everything, you'll be working on less stitches, so it's not so bad. To be honest, there is only 15 rounds. That doesn't sound a lot, does it? It's just because of the amount of stitches that we do have in there. because obviously at this point 60 stitches takes a while to get round. You see it's starting to flatten out a little bit now. Nearly dropped. Do it again. That stitch did not want to go through. Again, that does happen sometimes. I am hoping to get some of the finer pieces that I've done in pattern form. So for you guys who like to work in either a lace weight or a finer sock yarn, because it does make a difference. I found the sock yarns are just that little bit finer, and depending on whether it's an artisan one as well, you may find them even finer again. There has been times that I've barely been able to tell the difference between the 4-ply sock yarn and a 2-ply yarn. 2-ply yarn's not really something you see much, so that is why unfortunately it doesn't get used as much, because the colours are usually just baby basic colours. Much easier to get in this round now. It sort of loosens off a little bit when you're doing half trebles, so it's sort of like a softer stitch to do and easier to get in there. There's going to be a lot of double crochets though in this work. Most of the body part is double crochet. I did try doing it with a half treble, but again, because the half treble is a looser stitch, it just made the top too loose. And it also makes it a little bit holey as well. Almost there. Now remember, we're not doing a slip stitch join, we're just going to continue round. I am not bothering with the stitch marker. You can do if you wish, but I'm just using this as my example of my stop start point. So that is a second round. So we're now on round 3, and again, 1 half treble into the top of each half treble. So off we go. Now this is actually our last half treble round. Some of you may have already completed the 3, and I'll see you in a moment if you do. If not, some of you maybe stop starting me, but just take your time. I know I do go a little bit quick, but as I say, you can just pause me, because it's just the same stitch all the way round. You don't need to watch me do it if you don't want to. You can just sort of pause it, you do your round, and then come back to the next part of the pattern. Now I've written the pattern up in rough. I haven't actually done it on the computer yet, so I do need to get that done for you. I will aim to hopefully have it about the same time as this video goes out. So I will pop the link on. Nearly. See how it's sort of flattening out, but can you see how it's sort of, it's where it's the double crochet, it's slightly tighter, and then as we get to the half trebles it loosens off. But that is what we want it to do. That is the point of this thing, because you need that little bit of stretch to get it over the doll, but then you need the double crochet tightness to keep it neat and in place. I do like half trebles because it makes it feel like it grows faster. But like with any stitch, there's sort of a time and a place to actually use it. almost round. Now this is the last round for the shoulder piece. The next bit, as I mentioned, is going to be where we're going to create the armholes. And this is why it's important for this to be 60 chains. If you've missed a chain or you've got one chain too many, you get away with that. Anything beyond that, you won't. So we can manipulate maybe one or two max, but nothing beyond that. We're nearly there. You can see the little thread there. And I'm going to do one more, and I'm going to say I'm round. I am round. So that is the piece that comes over her shoulders. Now this will work out, so don't worry too much about this being visible, because it sort of sits at the back anyway, the way we measure it. So we're now going to be moving on to shaping this armhole. The first stitch I'm going to do is just one double crochet into the next one. So double crochet and stop, because they're all going to be double crochets these. I'm going to make 6 chain. 1, again consistent chain, 2, 3, 4, don't make it too loose, 5 and 6. So I have 6 chain there. I am now going to miss 14 stitches, so I'm going to count 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and we're going to go into number 15. So number 15, just let it fold over, it's not hurting, is going to have a double crochet in it. And that double crochet is the first of how we're going to do the front. This bit's going to be the front. I did put a stitch marker in that for my own benefit when I was doing it, when I was working out the patterns, but it's entirely up to you whether you do that. So that is our first DC. I'm now going to do a DC increase, so I want another double crochet in that same stitch. So there's 2 double crochets in there now, and now we're going to do 16, one in each of the next 16. Okay, so we'll count them. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 and 16. Now in that last one, or the next one we're going to do 2 double crochets again. So there was an increase at each end, so 2 double crochets in this one. Okay, so that's the 2. We're now going to do 6 chain again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. We're now going to miss the 14 again. 1, 2, hang on, start that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and into number 15 we're gonna go. Make sure your yarn's nice and tight. There we go. So just move that out of the way. Those are the 2 actual arm positions made. We're now going to do another, like we did at the front one, another double crochet in there. We're going to then do 10 double crochets. This will tell you whether you've got 60 or not. The odd time I haven't. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10, because the next one is 2 in 1. Yay, we did it. I must have had the right stitches. Even after all these years, there are times you do not have the right number, and it's very frustrating when you've got to go back to the beginning again. Right, we're now on round number 5. Now, as you can see, the chain is the first piece we hit, and we're going to do 8 double crochets over that chain, which is a bit of a weird feeling if you're not used to doing it. So it just goes under the chain, under, I'm not going in, I'm going under, and that's 1. So I'm going to go under the chain, pull it through, 2, under the chain, pull it through, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. And as you can see, it's all bunched up at one end. I don't want that, so I will just ease it across, and there we go. So you've got 8 double crochets over that first chain. We are now going to do a double crochet in anything that's just a double crochet. So off we go. Here we are, first one. So it's just 1 double crochet into each of those double crochets that are sitting here at the front. So we're going all the way up to the next chain, which we're nearly there now. We've got one more stitch and we're back at a chain. So like the other side, obviously we've got to keep it equal. We need to do 8 double crochets over the chain, not through it. So we go under, pull it through, double crochet, under, pull it through, double crochet. That's 2, 3, takes a bit weird to hold, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Oh, nearly dropped my hook. I need to stretch them along. Yeah, so it covers that area. We now need to go back to the beginning with just double crochets, and then we have round 5 completed. So that's round 5 done. We're now going to move on to round 6, and it's just going to be a double crochet into every single stitch until we get back to our beginning again. So off we go. We do need to go in each of these over the chain as well now. So we're working down the body of the top. Again, depending on your yarn, hopefully if those 60 fit across the shoulders when you did your 60 chain, you should be okay. It usually means the yarns are of a good tension. Oh, a good tension, a good thickness for actual project. But just keep having a check on your doll. To be honest, when I was checking it on her, I don't take the dolls apart much unless I can help it. I definitely don't take the heads off unless it's really necessary, but I did take the arms out because I kept trying it on her and it was easier just to pull it straight over her head and over her shoulders where her arms were to make sure I got a decent fit, because otherwise you're taking them in and out, in and out, in and out. So I just left her there, sat, bless her, with no arms, so I could just keep checking the measurements. So that's across our front. You may have noticed when we've been doing this, there are more stitches across the front than there are across the back. Now we're going across where those 8 double crochets are now, on the underarm section. The reason being is I have noticed when I've made Smartdoll things, obviously because of the bust shape, definitely if you have a doll with a larger bust, that you do need more stitches at the front. It's as simple as that. They have very narrow backs, and if you make the front the same width as the back, it really doesn't sit. Let me just sort of turn her over a second, bring her in. So you can see this has got a nice stretch here, but you can see how tiny her back goes in, and you don't want this loose and baggy here. Oh, nearly knocked my camera. I did knock my camera. So that is why there's less stitches here, because it sort of fits a little bit better for the doll. I'll pop her back over there. So it is deliberate. I'm not going mad. It's not that I've missed stitches out. Right, we are round for our round 6. We're about to start round 7. Now, round 7, I'm not happy with that stitch. I'm taking it out. That's it. Undo it again. So it's doing it again. Behave. There we are. So that's round 6 done. Round 7 is exactly the same. 1 double crochet into each of the double crochets. So off we go. So there is a lot of double crochets in this, because it's not, apart from the little frill at the end, it's all double crochets from now on. That's why I said it, you know, if you're not 100% sure, maybe you want a little practice at your double crochets, if you're a little bit more of a beginner before you attempt the top, that might be a good idea to make sure you get that sort of tension and consistency in your stitch. And also then when you come back to the pattern, you might not find I'm going too fast. It's just about sort of practice for that as well. And again, just pause me, do your round and come back. So we're going across the front now. We're going to have a tiny weeny bit of decreasing coming up, but it's nothing too complicated. I had to teach my daughter over the phone how to decrease the other day. She did really well. She did brilliantly, actually. She's never really, I've mentioned before, she's never really wanted to follow what I do. But now she's got the 2 children and they've been in lockdown. I think she just wanted something to do. So she started with a granny square pillow and then a blanket. And now she's having a go at some little Easter treats. And she's done exceptionally well, but I have had to try and explain. We can see each other from a distance, or one end at garden to other, if we pop to the houses, and I have dropped things off, but we've not been in the houses. Not very easy to sort of teach crochet like that. So we've either been doing little videos with each other, or I've been explaining over the phone, and she's picked it up amazingly. Really quite impressed. So I do know a complete beginner can do most of the things I've done, because she's certainly never had the inclination to do it before. So where are we? Where are we? That's that stitch I didn't like there. It was difficult to get in. So a couple more stitches. And I'd say we're round. Right, we are now on round 8. And round 8 will be a DC round, but it's going to have a decrease. So we're going to reduce 1 stitch either side just under the arms. I'm not particularly thinking about counting. Don't worry about counting. So it's just a double crochet, and when I get to that middle bit there, I'm going to do 2 together. So here we go. I'm not going to count the stitches. I think that's about middle. So the next 2 I'm going to do 2 together. So it goes in, pull it out. We don't complete that stitch. Go in the next one, pull it through. We have 3 on the hook. Pull it through all 3. That's a decrease. We're now just going to do 1 double crochet into each one until we get under the next arm. So we're working across the front again. So we did that tiny increase just to give that little stretch over the bust, but as I've mentioned 2 minutes ago, the back is very narrow, and obviously her waist is really quite tiny, so we do need to sort of pull it in. You can have it as a looser top if you wish. You don't have to have the fit, because obviously clothes we wear aren't always like that, so it's up to you, but I've just decreased it a little bit to give us a little bit of shape in there. Nearly under that arm again. Don't forget where you're going, because I know sometimes I just sort of whiz straight past it. Let's have a look. Am I about midway? I think I am. So 2 together, in, pull it through. Do not complete the stitch. Into the next stitch, pull it through. We have 3 on the hook. Pull it through all 3. That's your decrease, and back round to our starting point. I know with amigurumi, which essentially we're doing here, your starting place does alter fractionally. I don't over worry when it's doing something like this, because it's with a garment, it doesn't work quite the same. But obviously if you were doing a little amigurumi toy, you will find you will have had to have a stitch marker, and it will change its position. It sort of comes over this way slightly. So we are round. 1 more stitch. So that was our round 8. Our round 9 is again exactly the same. We're going to do a little increase under each armhole, but apart from that, they're all just 1 double crochet into each. So we're on round 9. Off we go. 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet into each. About midway? Yep, I think so. So 2 together. Together. Right, I'm going to have to do a quick pause. I have to do a quick stop there to answer the door. Now we're still on round 9, and we just did our first decrease. So off we go with just 1 double crochet in each stitch until we get under the next arm. As I said, there's only 15 rounds, so we're not doing bad at all here. Now obviously I've lost count of how long it's took now because I've separated the video up, but I think we're doing really well. Couple more stitches there till we're under the arm again. Just under the yarn a little bit. And we're almost in position to do our next decrease stitch. So approximately in the center of that armhole, in, pull it through, into the next one, pull it through all three. So that's our second decrease for round 9. So off we go back to our start position again. And we're back to the beginning. So that is round 9 completed. I need just one more stitch perhaps. There we go. Round 9 is completed. For round 10, it is just one double crochet into every single one of those stitches. No decreases or anything. Just one stitch until we get back to the start point again. So off we go. I've been thinking of some ideas for some summer Smartdoll outfits, some nice quick and simple ones that we can perhaps do apart from just the hats and things. I know obviously, I mean, I'm saying it's warming up a little bit here, not greatly, but obviously different parts of the world will want different outfits, so it depends where you are. We can dress our Smartdoll sunny though, even if we don't feel very sunny. Yeah, I can definitely see a bit of spring coming here, got daffodils coming through, and it's just a little bit nicer than it has been. So we're working across the front of the outfit now. Remember, we're not doing a decrease when we get to the armhole this time. It's just continually round with our double crochet stitches. So we're halfway around now. There's a few stitches now, obviously a lot less than there was with the 60. You don't need to overly worry about that count, because as long as you've done the decreases in the right place and the increases at the beginning in the right place, you will have your correct stitches. You seem to be steaming away now. I know I am going faster now, but as I say, just pause me. It was just a double crochet round, so round 10 is just one double crochet into every single stitch, so you don't really need to count or keep pace with myself. We're going to do an actual decrease again. This is our last decrease round. It's going to be the same system. We're going to decrease under each armhole, so it just sort of pulls it in a little bit each side. It sort of shapes it. So off we go, one double crochet in each, but one decrease under each armhole. Let's have a look. How about there? Looks good to me. In, pull it through, into the next one, pull it through all three. Decrease done. One double crochet into each one. I'm inclined to speed up when I'm doing double crochets. I know that because I do that much amigurumi. To me, a double crochet is sort of quite a quick stitch to do. That's why I say the more you do, the easier you will find it. So this is just one double crochet in every stitch, apart from the two under the arms where we've got one decrease at each side. So we're almost at the other side. I know my daughter was telling me also she found it easier to watch the video first, see what I was doing, and then come back to it, and then she could follow it at an okay speed and just stop and start as and when required. So that's why I say it's nice to have had a beginner do it who will sort of give me the right sort of criticism, so to speak, because she'll tell me if she doesn't think it's right. Right, two together, in, pull it through, in, pull it through, or three, and just one double crochet back to our start position. Now if you really wanted to make this top a lot shorter, this might be the time to try it on your doll to see how sort of high or low you want it. As you can see, let's bring it in upside down, bless her again. This has come sort of, if you pull it, you can pull it down a little bit further. Look, it does sort of come there sort of midway, so you could stop around here if you wanted to, and then just do the little scallop on the end that I've done, because there's the same amount of stitches by that point anyway. So we are back to our beginning. I've been considering trying to do some sort of overlay writing, sort of say at certain points whether to do X amount of rounds and things like that. So I might have to have a play with the editing software for that. We are now going to do rounds 12, 13, 14 and 15 are just going to be pure double crochet rounds, no altering, no increasing, no decreasing, just double crochet rounds. So we're going to start with our round 12 and off we go. Let me move her a little bit, I don't want to catch her, but there, so you can see her cheeky face. I do think they look cute without their wigs on. Mind you, fingers crossed, I keep saying this every video, when Gemini comes out, the boy Smartdoll, and fingers crossed I get him, I want to start doing a couple of things, sort of hats and bits and bobs for him. So I think his measurements are approximately the same, to be honest. I know I've got to check about shoes. Do any of you know, are the Smartdoll boy shoes the same as the girls? Are their feet size the same? I think they weren't, but something in the back of my head tells me that somebody told me that now the feet are the same size, because obviously I need to think about getting him some shoes. I mean, we have got some that he could wear that the girls have, but I would like to sort of try and get some boots for him. That's if I even get him. I'm just waiting desperately for that email to pop to say he's ready, and if people want him they can come and get him. And I just hope there's been enough manufactured, because it is going to be on a first come first serve basis. So you know, we'll just have to wait and see, because I know there's a lot of people wanting to get hold of him. So we're round, so that was round 12. Round 13 now is just one double crochet in each again. So off we go. I know some of you will have left me now and just got on and finished this bit until we come back to the scallop. I'll see you in a few minutes. So there's no stitch change now, so you sort of don't need to worry about where I'm going. It's just that one stitch in every single stitch. As long as you remember that they are UK terms. Oh, I've done that before. I've put patterns and not realised that they're not in UK terms, or vice versa. And yes, I've done it wrong, and I've had to undo it all. I wonder why it's come out a funny size. I actually taught myself the American system because I had nobody to tell me otherwise. There was no YouTube at that point. I can't even remember how I managed to do it. It was books and things like that, and I think there was a Parts Work magazine come out at the time. I was trying that as well. But for some reason I was using American. The reason I knew that is because there was an SC. We do not have a single crochet in the UK terms. We start from double crochet, but in the US an SC, a single crochet, is the same as a double crochet. So that's round 13. 14 now, off we go. Just one double crochet, or if you're in the US, single crochet in every single stitch. So yeah, I confused myself completely. I made so many mistakes when I was first starting doing my crochet. That is why, if you are a beginner and you're having a go at these, don't get stressed if it goes wrong. It is going to go wrong. That is the whole process of learning. You will go wrong. If you don't, you're very lucky, but you might go wrong on the next one. So just take your time. If it goes wrong, it doesn't matter. It's easy enough to undo with crochet. You don't even lose your yarn. You can sort of wind it back up nicely, and it can usually be used a couple of times without it causing too much of a problem. But there's been plenty of items thrown in the bin with me, even recently, you know, even when I was doing one of the hats recently, I undid it so many times. I'm like, oh, I've just had enough of this, and I binned it, and I started all over again. It takes a little while when you're having to work out a pattern, and there's going to be a lot of mistakes while you're doing that. So we're almost round for our number 14. So we've only got one more round and then our little scallop round. You do not have to do the scallop round if you don't want to. You can just do maybe one more plain double crochet round. I just thought it was nice to sort of give it a little bit of an edge there. So that is it, round for 14. Round 15 coming up, our last round before our scallop. I do like doing scallops on things. They're one of my favourite things to do. When I've done, quite often when I've done scarves and things like that, I always end up edging them with scallops. A round of double crochets and then scallops. I just love doing that. I just think it finishes something off nice and neatly and makes it a little bit different as well. So we're going across the front now. Hopefully you've tried it on a couple of times just to double check. That's the front done. So we're counting down now under the last armhole with double crochets, and then just across the back and back onto our scallop. Our scallop could not be any easier. I know sometimes people are a bit nervous with edges. If you can do a double crochet and you can do a treble, you've got a scallop. We have the odd slip stitch thrown in there, but by this point you're probably relatively comfortable with slip stitches. Not that everybody likes them, but they are great for showing definition in a stitch. So we have a couple more, and I would say one more, and I'm there. Okay, so that is, can you see how it sort of almost becomes a little bit of a racer back? You can see it's narrower there because that is the back, and it does matter, and it's wider at the front. So that is intentional, just so you get that tighter fit across the back. Now for the scallop, we're going to go into our next stitch, into here, with 3 trebles. So yarn round into the stitch, and that's 1. Same stitch, another 1, 2, another 1, 3. So that's our little scallop. Well, it will be when you do the next stitch. You're going to miss a stitch, and into the next one you're going to do a slip stitch. So a slip stitch is just in, pull it through, pull it through. Yeah, you're going to miss a stitch, then we're going to do 3 trebles. Off we go with our 3 trebles again. So we have 1, 2, 3. We're going to miss a stitch. We're going to go into our next one and do a slip stitch. Ta-da! We're going to miss one. We're going to do 3 trebles in the next one. I think you can probably see the pattern that's forming. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Miss a stitch, slip stitch. Miss a stitch, 3 trebles. 1, 2, 3. Miss a stitch, slip stitch. Miss a stitch, 3 trebles. 1, 2, 3. Can you see how our little scallop is appearing now? So it's giving you a sort of a nice little edge to the bottom of the top. So what we do, we miss a stitch and we slip stitch. Miss a stitch and 3 trebles. 1, 2, and 3. Miss a stitch, slip stitch. Miss a stitch, 3 trebles. Miss a stitch, slip stitch. Miss a stitch, 3 trebles. 1, 2, and 3. Miss a stitch and slip stitch. We're nearly there. Look at this, we've only got the back section to do, which is not many, because look, we've only got that bit to do. Hopefully it will fit. Again, if you've lost a stitch somewhere or something like that, sometimes it doesn't, but it's easy enough to adjust. So we miss a stitch and we do 5 trebles. 5? Not even doing 5, oh, we were doing 3. 3 trebles. Miss a stitch. I don't know where I got 5 from. Miss a stitch, 3 trebles. 1, 2, and 3. Miss a stitch and slip stitch. Miss a stitch and our last set of 3 trebles. And all I'm going to do is slip stitch into the next one. Hopefully you should have had a space, but I didn't. But it doesn't matter. We did it. Let's just trim the yarn off there. Those scissors are getting really bad. I do need to get some more. They do get worn out. The amount they get used. Shouldn't really use embroidery scissors on yarn. And just tighten that up. So essentially that is it. We have our little top. This is the front, because it's wider, as I mentioned, and this is the back because it is narrower. Now, I have in the past put little buttons on here sort of to decorate it up. Entirely up to you. You can make it, let's bring it around, you can make it a longer top if you want, because we've already got, as you can see, it curves quite nicely into the waist there. And so you can see on the sides we have a nice flush fit all the way around her body, so that should work quite nicely. So what I'm going to say at that point, that is it. Have a go, check your yarns out, make sure your 60 fits across here before you continue with anything else. If you've got any queries, just let me know, and don't forget you can slow me down if necessary, but I think the stop start system works a lot better on the YouTube there. So if you've enjoyed that, hopefully it'll be the start of a couple of larger items. Please like, subscribe and share, and click on that notification bell if you do want to see what my next projects are going to be. So thank you once again very much for watching, and I will see you all soon. Bye.